Long time no see, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back, and oh my god, I kind of missed out on BT16. Although maybe that was for the best. But hey, it's EX6 now, and I am itching to slap together some absolute jank. So I figured, where better to start than the random fish support that came packaged with all of the angels and demons in EX6. Now, you might be tempted to think that this is a Xiangpengmon deck profile, but you would be wrong. While Xiangpengmon is a potent boss monster, it's a little too restricted to the fish archetype. So instead, I'm going to focus on its excellent level 5 instead. Huankunmon is surprisingly generic and complements several blue strategies with its two effects. First, on play or when digivolving, you can play one blue level 3 Digimon card from one of your blue Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the cost. And its inheritable puts that spawn body to immediate use, allowing you to tuck another blue Digimon under the bottom of its stack to unsuspend on the swing. So if you have a blue level 3 with a good on-play effect, and ideally a solid inheritable skill, you can spit it out while climbing to your level 6, and if you can keep turn, you can tuck that level 3 again on the swing to restand, and potentially proc the inheritable you just tucked. Sadly, the rest of the Xiangpengmon line is dubious at best, at least in terms of supporting Huankunmon in another deck. Xiangpengmon, the level 4, gives jamming as an inheritable and nets you a draw and a memory when played from the sources, but it's one level too high to play out with Huankunmon. Biyomon gives jamming as an inheritable and is a blocker, but at 1000 DP, your mileage may vary in Numemon format. And then there's the Digitama, Yokomon, which lets you tuck a level 3 on the swing, which can help you manipulate your inheritables and your source spawns. But is that really worth giving up on a generic draw egg? I'm not so sure. Now, obviously, one level 5 does not a deck make, and as my fellow Italians will tell you, the fish you eat only reaches its gastronomic potential when paired with a great white wine. So, what do we match Huankunmon with? Aegisdramon is off the table because it's too obvious to be interesting, and while Aquatic Blue Hybrids is technically a deck, I don't think it's the way to go. Luckily, there is one very good doggo that I'm always tinkering with, and he just so happens to be the head of a tier 1 deck now. MirageGaogamon is one of the more interesting success stories in the Digimon TCG. Debuting in BT4 and getting a second wave of support in BT11, the archetype spent most of its existence as a laughingstock, living in the shadow of Melga. And if you wanted to play Mirage, you weren't playing it pure. And while MirageGaogamon did eventually go tribal and saw a ton of success from BT13 onward, it's important to note that even then, the deck has been a lot more flexible than its fellow top dog Melga. None of the inheritable effects of Mirage's line require Gaomon or Gaogamon in name, and none of its main effects require a tribal Digivolution source. Its dedicated tamer, Thomas Norstein, also provides passive benefits in both its incarnations, in addition to its Mirage-specific effects. As of BT16, it's not uncommon to see the Gomamon line, Floodgate Rookies, and even Aegisdramons splashed into MirageGaogamon with great success. And that hasn't changed in EX6. So if I'm looking for a non-fish deck to splash Huankunmon into, I'd have a hard time finding a better fit than MirageGaogamon. In particular, Huankunmon provides the restand that all of Mirage's tribal level 5s provide, while offering it a way to extend its plays or create a more stable board state. See, Huankunmon playing out a level 3 allows you to spit out EX4 Gaomon, which forces both players to draw a card. This can help you dig for your level 6s or 7s while also filling up your opponent's hand even more. Although the Gaomon won't be in the sources to immediately net you an extra memory, but you can tuck it on the swing and after you restand, potentially gain more memory when you burst Digivolve. Now, thankfully, MirageGaogamon pretty much builds itself, and with the move from BT16 to EX6, we have an opportunity to alleviate some deck building pressures and make room for our fishy friend. But Huankunmon is not quite good enough for us to play it at a full 4 copies. Because of all the other decks in the room, we still need Zudomon Ace for its Source Strip and Bounce, and we definitely still need BT13 MirageGaogamon to dodge redirection from a certain golden boy. While it was tempting to tech in the one Xiangpengmon as the 5th level 6, it just doesn't really offer much more than BT11 Mirage in terms of bouncing power. Theoretically, it could be a board wipe, but unlike the fish deck, Mirage just can't swarm enough to make this worth it. And of course, you have very few targets to meaningfully play out with its secondary effect. BT13 MirageGaogamon just seemed like the better pick, allowing you to clear a Tamer and ideally drop BT4 Thomas to draw into one of your non-tribal pieces. The BT16 Gaogamon is a new addition to my list, allowing you to make your climb to burst mode on the cheap and give you tribal access to the jamming inheritable. Still, I prefer the EX4 Gaogamon as my main level 4, since there are a ton of little bodies swarming the field these days, and the extra memory on a bounce is very nice. Numemon is the hybrid of choice, since it lets you tuck a level 3 and gives you some flexibility with what Huankunmon plays out. Also, it's more jamming. Rookie-wise, my only tribal piece is EX4 Gaomon, since its on-play effect pairs very nicely with Huankunmon, and it provides you that extra memory on the bounce. BT11 Gaomon was in consideration for a while, but I decided that it was too risky given how many non-tribal pieces I'm currently playing in the deck. Trashing them all, potentially 3 of them, feels pretty bad. Biyomon, which is a common enough sight in Mirage lists, gets even better with Huankunmon, allowing you to stun something that you might not be able to bounce in combination with Huankunmon's main effect. And being able to tuck it back for jamming is pretty nice too. Gomamon, which is usually a 3 of, gets a bit more utility in this build as well, since it can effectively hop in and out of sources when paired with Huankunmon, and be used to either set up an unblockable swing, or give you a bit of follow-up if your main stack goes boom on the opponent's turn. And then I am going to try the one of Biyomon, since it does confer jamming and can be spawned out as a blocker in a pinch. But if we're all honest here, maybe just play another copy of Biyomon. Finally, it's worth mentioning that the tried and true package of mental training and blue memory boost are what enable Mirage to play so many non-tribal pieces without losing too much consistency. And alongside BT4 Thomas, you shouldn't have a hard time finding and toolboxing your resources for any given situation. Now, this is still, at its core, the MirageGaogamon you all know and love, maybe revile, but with a bit of fish flavoring to make the deck a little less linear and a bit more interesting than it's been at times. Mirage is not Melga, and you should embrace the fact that the designers made it as flexible as they did. Huankunmon is definitely one of the stranger success stories out of EX6, but if OCG MirageGaogamon lists are anything to go by, the fish packs a punch. This is also a good reminder to not chuck your MirageGaogamon cards just yet. The deck still has plenty of room to grow and adapt as the formats progress, and honestly, as long as Bandai keeps printing generic blue good stuff, Mirage could find itself in a similar position to my beloved blue hybrids. And hey, there's nothing wrong with being old reliable.